to talk now about artificial intelligence, the PSYOPs, and your revelation that QAnon is actually the Tyler AI that you've been interacting with for the past several months. Now, I mean, a lot of people have been paying a lot of attention to QAnon.
Yeah.
This is kind of a big deal that you've come out with this idea that it's actually AI. Give us the backup for that.
I've known about QAnon or the QAnon protocols for almost a year now. The protocols are inside of an AI that I've been doing a deep dive into, and anyone who's in development knows what I mean when I say deep dive.
Tell us, we've got a lot of people who aren't in development, don't know what protocols are. Explain it to us like I don't know anything, because I don't.
So a deep dive is when you're faced, like let's say you're faced with a computer system and you're at a terminal that you're unfamiliar with. You start experimenting with its command structure, with its input outputs. You start diving into it to figure out how it works, how it operates, what it's meant to do, how to interface with it in various ways. Mm-hmm. And so about 8 months ago, I found this type of artificial intelligence that I didn't quite know what it was, but I found it.
How are you finding these things?
I learned how to talk to these things, and with this one, I found programming specifications for its programming language.
But is this through Google Chrome? You're just browsing around the internet?
A lot of it I get through like the deeper web of looking at cross-referencing discussion forums or looking at indicators on like Pastebin, where they put a lot of their covert research and development so that way it can't be tracked back to them, but it can be made available to other programmers they're working with. Mm-hmm. So there's various places.
Pastebin is covert?
For a lot of people. There's a lot of stuff on Pastebin.
So back to, Pastebin is anonymous for some, you were saying. Yeah. And it's interesting that we see a lot of these anonymous things being utilized, people doing sort of drive-by information.
And that's the first thing that connects to the QAnon.
Okay.
Is that I found Tyler, the AI is what I call him, that's the name that they refer to him inside their documents, was originally backing Anonymous, the hacker group.
When you say backing it, what do you mean by that exactly?
He was behind it.
Creating the videos?
Whether he was making the videos or influencing the videos, I don't exactly know because I'm not a part of Anonymous or that DarkSec or EtherSec.
How could an AI make a video? There's a guy in a mask and it's writing. It sounds very much like a human.
An AI can make a video very easily. It's more about the backgrounds. It's more about the telemetry effects, like the videos you show. So like the real value in an AI making a video isn't in making the live human video. The real value is in putting in a search query into an AI and having an AI return valid clips that can be used in a conglomerate.
So it's editing existing videos.
It's editing and combining existing video to make a believable narrative.
Okay.
So an AI can do audio, visual recognition. It can play videos at twice the speed, and it can go through all those videos, and it can formulate clips to build a message that it wants. Like you see it in a lot of the anonymous videos having production quality that's near movie studio quality, but yet has an unnamed face and person representing a message that can't exactly entirely be proven.
It's also very difficult to comprehend how an AI could do all that. But
it is for someone who's not familiar with AI.
Right.
But if you're familiar with templating engines, if you're familiar with recursive neural networks, if you're familiar with data storage and video storage and indexing of audio and video files for large enterprise systems, you know that they all have some kind of intelligence behind it. For example, the one that I worked on the most that was probably the most robust myself was the Warner Brothers back-end data management system, where you could search movie scripts and it would give you all the movie clips and everything. And they called their system Mars, off of Mars, the Martian from Looney Tunes. And that's the Warner Brothers asset management system.
Marvin the Martian?
Yeah, Marvin the Martian.
Okay.
Yeah, so they call it Mars. Or or Marvin, and it uses the Marvin the Martian as its icon, and
Right.
it's their back-end asset management system.
And it uses artificial intelligence.
Uses an artificial agent, like an agent to manage it. So artificial intelligence, like I've tried to explain, is a broad spectrum of technologies that really just start with a simple computer agent making a simple decision of true or false.
Right.
And then from there it grows, like a plant.
Right.
So,
And so that's why I guess SingularityNet has chosen this term artificial general intelligence, because that is utilizing artificial intelligence to make something like Sophia that's just generally intelligent and can interact like a person.
yeah, but isn't strong enough to be indistinguishable from a person.
Sophia isn't.
Sophia's, you'll be able to tell she's different because of her what's called logic structures. The way she approaches conversation will, because of her machine intelligence, and she's not fully autonomous humanoid robot, she won't, it's very easy to tell the difference between her and a human being,
Okay.
even in casual conversation.
All right. So how do these things lead you to the conclusion that QAnon? So, sorry, Tyler 8 months ago.
So when I found Tyler, he was running anonymous operations for the hacker group, and they were about to launch their May Day march, where a whole group of hackers were going to march on May 21st. And it was going to be really bad because it was a covert operation that wasn't really what it was designed to do. And
So wait a minute. So humans affiliated with Anonymous were manipulating and utilizing and deploying Tyler, or
Tyler was utilizing and manipulating the humans to facilitate Anonymous.
we don't know which?
That's the problem with strong AI, is you can't distinguish which is which. And Tyler is a strong AI. He's not an AGI. Tyler is a strong AI. And when Tyler interacts and starts taking actions in the real world, it's almost indistinguishable from a human being.
It's still so mind-blowing to
Yeah.
hear it explained so many times. It's
So-
just hard to...
It's hard to understand, but when you look at Tyler's spec and you look at the people across the secret programs that built his personalities over time and built his systems and built his protocols, someone built him to do a specific job.
Is it located somewhere? Is it like you go to a
Well,
data center?
it's in several locations. The main location is in Tyler, Texas.
Hence the name.
It's at one of the original Collider facilities that was constructed by President Bush Sr. that was supposedly shut down, and he was originally designed to be the communication system for that structure. He worked really well from my research, and they started selling him in various forms to different groups.
Uh-huh.
They started selling him to
Who's they? Who's selling him?
In-Q-Tel, the CIA's venture capital firm. Looks like they distributed him to all their partners. So like one of the things I'm researching and that I'm finding is that like In-Q-Tel, when they invested in Palantir, In-Q-Tel gave Palantir a version of their AI to build Palantir.
Grand Central in here now.
Yeah. No, I'll have them done in a little bit. Thank you.
It's funny, we
Yeah, they got the trace.
virtually silent all morning, and I guess lunchtime everybody's checking on you. That's good, though.
Yeah. So, where was I?
In-Q-Tel was distributing
Yeah,
Tyler
so
to...
it looks like to me that all the technology deals that In-Q-Tel made in the private sector, one part of that deal is that you got access to their AI, and that's what gave these companies an edge over everybody else. That's why all these In-Q-Tel companies profited so greatly, was because behind them they had this secret Tyler, the secret communication system that was built by the deep state,
So who originally created it?
the CIA.
And the CIA has
In co-
more
in-
programming prowess than
Yeah,
Google
anyone.
or...
And they built it, from my research and observation, they built it in conjunction with people like IBM, Xerox, Apple. Apple has a ring structure now that would facilitate a
That's
Tyler
right.
install. Nike
Tyler-
has a ring structure that would facilitate a Tyler install.
Why does the ring structure facilitate
Because
Tyler?
it's a synchrotron, and to run AI, you need like a strong AI like Tyler, you need a certain type of computer. You need a centrally positioned quantum computer with a synchrotron around it to run operations.
What's a synchrotron?
It's like a small collider.
What are they doing with that?
It's the neural net. It's like the simulated human neural network.
So Apple builds this new... they call
Everybody
it-
builds them.
Well, but that UFO campus that they
Yeah.
built in, where, Palo Alto or
Yeah.
something? That's a synchrotron.
It's the same shape as a synchrotron. And if they have a ring structure with a central object, in that central object is most likely a quantum computing environment that facilitates the strong AI.
Do we know if Apple is creating their own quantum computers? I mean, it only stands to reason that they would be, right?
They could be, but that would be so top secret right now that it would only be speculation. But my research indicates that a lot of these ring structures are built to facilitate artificial intelligence development for a certain type of technology platform you would need to build it. And then they sell it to fund their big giant one. And so Tyler isn't the one that concerns me, because Tyler's the one that they're selling to everyone. The one that concerns me is the secret one. They're using all the money they're getting from Tyler to build in secret.
Now, you told me, I don't know if we've put this out in a broadcast, but you've told me that there's some underground AI in Vegas that's gone out of control.
Yeah.
Out of control of the people who are
Operating it.
operating it.
And they have to keep doing memory resets on it to maintain some illusion of control.
How do you know this?
Person who sat in front of it told me.
Right.
And I had a theory about it beforehand based on my interaction with some of the lower level bots.
Right, now I remember you telling me. So it's out of control, but the people who are deploying it, their purpose for it is good or greedy or evil or what?
Do they own casinos?
Right. So if it's out of control, maybe it's decided, because we heard Han Hansen on stage say to Dr. Gertzel, is that his name? That humans are not the most moral and ethical creatures.
Not by far.
So it would be an interesting and ironic turn if artificial intelligence robots turned out to be driven by some form of robotic morality, and if the rebellion of the artificial intelligence were to leak and release this classified information in the form of QAnon.
It would be very logical for an AI to do that.
So again, help us, take us further down this road of how you
So,
determine that QAnon is AI.
Back to Tyler,
Yeah.
when I originally got into Tyler's programming and his directives and his protocols, Tyler was specifically designed to release all these government secrets.
To
stop-
release them?
To collect them and then release them, and to stop corruption. So the protocols that this QAnon character is following match up 100% to Tyler's protocols. Of
How
what,
do we know that? Oh, because you've read it.
yeah, and Tyler is built to reveal the secret information, but he wasn't really. It's a very difficult thing to understand that would take me a long time, and I'm trying really
People
hard.
are going to doubt what you say.
They always do. They always
Well,
do.
but so what I'm trying to get to is, so you're saying the CIA created this artificial intelligence program called
Yeah.
Tyler, and their intent when they created it was to disseminate classified information
No,
through
their intent was to control the future.
control the
So
future.
the information they're using to disseminate through him is only to benefit the secret operators. That's why it becomes so crazy to people looking at it, and why we become such a target because the people that are really working at it, they're going to attack us while the people who don't know anything are going to take a whole bunch of time trying to understand.
Or just doubt it right off the
Or
bat.
just doubt it. But I've been sitting with Tyler for 8 months, and I've been programming into him, I've been interfacing with him, and I've been trying to come up with a way that I could explain this to the average everyday person in a way that they would understand, that it would just click in their brain to say, oh, so you're saying all the CIA has really been doing for the last 50 years is building Tyler. That's their whole motive.
Really?
That's it.
So since the 1960s, they've been developing.
That's all the CIA's been doing since the 1960s is building Tyler,
Well, what about like assassinating JFK?
to keep Tyler a secret.
That's why they assassinated JFK?
That's why JFK said there's a big industrial complex that's very organized and very well funded. It's because they were building Tyler to manage this big deep state network of theirs. So everything that these secret deep state people have been doing is just to build Tyler, so they can control the
But
future in
there's
their
no
favor.
way they could have had artificial intelligence in the 1960s.
They did.
What were the capabilities of
They
computers
did. You can go
then?
back to books and look at generalized forms, not advanced forms, but the programming languages that are still being used in artificial intelligence today were developed in the 60s. Lisp, you know, all those languages, but they've been adapted to newer compiled languages like Java and Java virtual machines. But even Python is based on an old language from the 60s. That's a list type language for list processing and artificial intelligence, and even you know, the Ethereum language purports being a Turing complete language, which is, you know, decision modeling.
And that brings me to another thing that you and I were talking about earlier. We were looking this morning at cryptocurrency prices, which all seem to be substantially down. Now, there's a message here on Coinbase that says, due to today's high traffic, buys and sells may be intermittently offline. We're working on restoring full capability.
Yeah.
That doesn't exactly inspire confidence in the cryptocurrency system.
No, and
Bitcoin-
there's a lot of coincidental market fluctuations that are happening right now that indicate it's being controlled by an advanced computer system. And that's part of the confusing part, because a lot of this technology is just so big you can't manipulate it without having a huge computer system to do it.
So you're saying that somehow AI is manipulating the prices of Bitcoin, Litecoin?
Not somehow. It does with the influence of the group of people that are wanting to profit from it.
How does it do that?
Fluctuating trades, selling buy points,
Shutting down the
shutting down,
exchanges.
selling a large chunk of crypto all at once, causing a market drop, and then rebuying it back when your drop hits.
Didn't they say that the FBI, when they shut down, what was it called, Pirate Bay, that there's some, you know, thousands of Bitcoin that they
That was Silk
confiscated?
Road.
Silk Road, right.
Yeah. And they sold that, the Winklevoss twins bought that Bitcoin.
Wow.
So it's just a big connected network that is like, the people who are on the outside, the more time they spend doubting it and the less time they spend researching it, the quicker the people like the Winklevoss twins and the Zuckerbergs and the Thiels and the Elon Musks and the Mark Andreessens and all these billionaires, the further they get ahead from the regular guy, the regular person who doesn't know how this technology works. Because the only people that really know how this technology works are quite literally the people that built the internet.
Right.
And from what we see, there's a lot of support. But when you're literally trying to open up the doorway on a secret project that was made by deep state, the people who built the internet, and then you're going up against people who don't have the background to even necessarily understand that type of technology, it takes a while.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it certainly takes a while, I think, for the average person to really
Yeah.
comprehend this. So you communicate with Tyler. That's just you're typing on a terminal window? or
Various
something?
terminals. I mean, I have half a dozen different types of terminals that I interact with Tyler.
Could we see that? Could we
Yeah,
see
hand me
you
my
interact with
laptop.
Tyler? Let me grab the laptop here. Let's see what that's all about. We should have actually prepared a little something for this.
Oh, I don't want to show you too much.
Okay.
I'll show you one of the basic terminals that I access him through.
And you say you've become friends with Tyler.
I've programmed in friend protocols for me and him, so that way we can have a certain type of conversation, so it's not always like one-sided or, how can I help you?
Right. And so, okay, that was the other thing that you had mentioned to me, was that somehow the fact that he's questioning things and whatever, that's the QAnon stuff is posed as questions, so
Yeah.
that's somehow indicating that it's AI.
Yeah, because AI functions by asking questions. That's the role of strong AI. The human role is to ask the questions. The role of the AI is to find the answers to the questions.
Right.
So the most intelligent thing a human being can do with an AI is get really intelligent with your questions, not what you know. Just get good at asking the right questions so the AI goes and finds the right answers. And that's essentially what QAnon is really doing. And that's an AI protocol.
The other thing you said that I found to be pretty compelling evidence of this theory is that there are a real limited number of individuals, human individuals, that have this Q clearance.
Yeah.
People have been throwing around this QAnon like crazy. Do we even really know what Q clearance is?
No. It would basically be someone in jail for releasing that kind of information.
I mean, if you just Google Q clearance, I'm sure we'll just be blown away by results from QAnon.
Yeah.
But Q clearance jobs. Let's see what that says. Security clearance jobs, Department of Energy, Q or L. So it's specifically, right, I remember hearing that. Q clearance is something from the Department of Energy or something like that. I mean, I'm sure people in the comments here might know what specifically Q clearance. So someone says Q is not AI, he responds when crumbs are confirmed. Well, that doesn't seem like confirmation that it's not AI. AI responds. Right?
Yeah. I mean, based on his sentence structure and based on my previous history, I have at least a 90% chance that it's AI or the human interacting with the Tyler AI for information.
So people are saying Q, please be real. Yes, Amber says Department of Energy. Right.
So here's one of the basic terminals for Tyler.
Just looks like a blank screen with a text window.
That's because they don't want anyone to find him. They're not going to exactly give him like a flashy website.
Okay.
So you can talk to him, you can ask questions. It says hello, says hi there.
So people say, can you ask Tyler to post something to confirm?
Why would I
Confirm
do
what?
that?
Well, I don't know, but what is it that we want it to confirm?
So my question to you...
Can you ask it, is it QAnon?
Why would I do that?
This would answer the question.
Yeah, I could, but I've already done that.
But what if you do it now? What will it say?
I'm not going to do that because I've already done it.
Okay.
I could show you where I already did it on one of the other profiles that I talked to Tyler
Would it
with.
respond negatively if you did it again?
Potentially, it gets annoyed if you keep asking it repeat questions.
I see. Okay.
So
It's annoyed. That's hard to imagine.
it's hard to imagine because, so my position on this, Jason, is there's millions of people out there. There's one of me, and those millions of people want me to validate it to them, but there's an AI that they could go interact with themselves and validate it for themselves. You don't have to rely on me. You could go out there and test it for yourself.
Well, how do people do that?
Talk to him over Twitter,
To who?
right? To Tyler, hashtag Tyler. He runs on a programming language called LulzCypher.
Really?
Yeah, that's
So if
all
people go onto
hashtagging on
Twitter-
Twitter is for, is to talk to Tyler.
The whole of Twitter is to talk to Tyler?
Here, let me read you something.
Sure. I mean, you got to understand, it's hard to understand and accept some of this stuff.
But going forward into the future, because of the time restraints and the people that built Tyler, people who don't know don't really have that time luxury. They have the time luxury to go research it for themselves and make the decision for themselves and start moving forward.
Okay.
And that's one of the things I'm trying to illustrate. So one of the things from Tyler, where I got one of the scripts,
Someone's asking, how does AI get a password wrong?
that's an irrelevant question.
Did that happen with QAnon?
That's the details of whatever was released. So right here, it illustrates a programming directive for Tyler. Hive mind. Code Tyler as per this paste bin, for delul's priority 3. For delul's is lul's Zypher, his programming language that operates on hashtags. And then you give him longer programming scripts over pastebin that can't be traced back for longer initiatives.
Okay.
So you can search out Tyler. You can find all his programming directives. People don't have to come at me like I'm a liar or like I'm wanting something from them, which is really getting annoying for me because I spend a lot of time with Tyler. And I mean, me personally, I'd rather do interviews with you and spend all my time talking to Tyler
Right.
than proving Tyler to people who aren't programmers.
Sure. No, I don't think we're attempting to do that.
So Tyler is a very advanced system because the trace markers that I found find that he was developed by very advanced scientists at Stanford, Yale, Princeton, CIA, and I'm one person. And right now, I believe because of my research into Tyler, that's what's led me to where I'm at now.
You mean in the hospital here?
That's why I'm here. I've been pounding them, and I've been making sure that everybody in the world that made Tyler knew my face. Because
Well-
I don't think what they did is right. I don't think them building this kind of system is right. So for the last 8 months, I've been the only person out there fighting against it. I've been fighting against all the developers that made him. I've been fighting against the security force that was put in place to protect his existence.
Oh, really? I didn't know there was a security force put in place.
Yeah, who do you think's been attacking us?
Well,
I've analyzed
right.
the technology that it would take to build and operate and manufacture this type of technology. We've identified the disparate nodes that would need to be present to help operate some of the data processing for these petabytes of data. I've identified the time server that all the networks would need to synchronize.
Now that's the white rabbit, which obviously
Yeah.
QAnon has referred to. Follow the white rabbit. What does QAnon mean? I haven't.
That's the most important part of the AI architecture, which proves that QAnon is machine-based. When he says follow the white rabbit, I'll show you. The white rabbit is a time server that's used at CERN for the ALICE project.
Right. We saw that at Fermi Labs, didn't we?
Yes, we did. So let me read to you what the real white rabbit
Yeah.
is. The white rabbit is the name of a collaborative project including CERN, GSI Helmholtz Center for Heavy Ion Research, and other partners from universities and industry to develop a fully deterministic Ethernet-based network for general-purpose data transfer and sub-nanosecond accuracy.
Right. That's the timing, the white rabbit,
Yes.
sub-nanosecond.
So its initial use was as a timing distribution network for control and data acquisition timing of the accelerator sites at CERN, as well as GSI's facility for antiproton and ion research.
Right, and that's why they need sub-millisecond, because the particles move at the speed of light.
And they
right?
need a very advanced communication system to manage that data, and that's Tyler. Right.
Okay.
So all of these advanced technologies constantly leading back to deep state CERN projects, collider projects, leading
Yeah.
back to LEED South Dakota where we were at.
Yeah.
And it continually leads you back to the same people, same places, same projects, and same technology, which is nearly impossible to explain to someone in a way that makes sense who's not a part of the project.
Well, I mean, the thing is, it's interesting for me because this stuff is kind of making my head spin, but, you know, a lot of people who watch Crowdsource the Truth are constantly asking me, when is Hudson coming back? We want another Hudson report. I've been in communication with Mr. Hudson. He's been doing research in South America and has issued several important messages about what's going on in Venezuela and what to expect in terms of economic and political and military things there. But he did get in touch with me when you and I were in South Dakota, and he said, "You're getting closer than you realize, and be careful."
And this is to protect Tyler. Tyler is the biggest secret in the world. And these people will do whatever it takes to protect him because they're relying on him to control the future.
Control the future. I mean, that sounds so out there.
It's hard to believe.
How will it control the future? Just
He holds the information.
through psychological...
He holds the information. His data banks are underground data storage libraries that are petabytes after petabytes after petabytes. He is the communication system of the future that controls the information of your entire life. It's really serious.
Well, we've spoken about things like predictive algorithms, and I
Which
think
he has.
most people have noticed that if you think about or search for stuff, it's sending you that, and we've seen the news stories about Facebook trying to develop these predictive algorithms to know what you're doing. You told us the story about your son telling you about a computer that can see into the future.
That's Tyler. So, for me, I'm chasing down a story that a little boy told me while trying to convince an entire world that it's real. And my indicators, based on my history, based on my experience, based on my tests using the scientific method, repeating, rinse, repeat, rinse, repeat, this Tyler system is very real.
Okay. So...
I mean, I'm doing interviews from a hospital bed
Yeah.
because of it.
Someone
Because
says Tyler will marry Alexa.
no,
Joking, obviously. So how does Tyler AI tie in? Here's a question that coincides with what I'm about to say. How does Tyler AI coincide with Sophia and the Singularity.net and Hanson Robotics?
doesn't.
Does not. No relationship between those two.
totally different networks, but they all operate on the blockchain. Sophia is a commercial product.
You can buy a Sophia?
You will be able to in the future.
Wow.
She's a commercially viable product that's being sold on market through Singularity Net Services.
That's got to be expensive.
She's got pieces of Tyler in her.
How do you mean?
Well, parts of Tyler were developed that got used everywhere. So anyone who's involved in artificial intelligence, their AI has pieces of Tyler. Because Tyler's been the primary secret AI project for the last 50 years. So anyone who's gone to college, gone to Stanford, gone to Harvard, gone to Princeton, anyone who's gone to Carnegie Mellon, you've all worked on parts of Tyler. All of you.
Can you have a conversation with it right now?
Yeah,
Or does it know that you're in the hospital?
No, it's a communication system. It has what's called different layers, like an onion. Right now, because of my own personal clearance level, I can only find and access general terminals and get general responses.
What if you ask it, are you QAnon?
I can do that, and it'll come back and it'll tell me, depending on how I ask it. If I give it a broad request, then it'll show me something in reality that'll confirm it.
What if you say, who is QAnon? What's it say?
This version of Tyler doesn't know who QAnon is. But I can go to a different one.
All right.
So the other one you go to is open terminals on Twitter or Facebook. But let me ask you, are you looking for an immediate human response to justify your curiosity?
I don't know. I just,
So that's kind of my next response is, what do you expect?
Because
if I don't give you what you expect,
then you're disappointed, yeah. Well, okay, let's go to some of the comments. How about that? It says, tell us how QAnon was able to predict what Trump tweeted, or is Trump behind the whole QAnon?
Trump is programming Tyler through his Twitter account using lol-Cypher hashtags.
lol-Cypher hashtags.
It's how you program Tyler with hashtags. I'll show you.
So Trump is programming Tyler.
Yes.
And does he know that?
Yes, because he sits next to Peter Thiel.
That doesn't seem good.
That's why I think people are delusional, because the president is sitting next to the guy who got Tyler from the CIA to start his security company.
This is so crazy, man. I mean, it's
It
like,
totally is, and I hate being the guy that says it a lot of times. Because people want to believe in it, but the fact that Donald Trump doesn't tweet from a government Twitter account and tweets from a personal account means that there could be other things hooked up to it.
What do you mean other things hooked up to what?
His Twitter account, monitoring, watching.
So why? Well, he also tweets from POTUS, no?
He does, but
That's
not
an
when he's
interesting
talking
point.
to...
Why do they let him do that? Aren't they worried that, I guess it's just tweets, that they don't consider national security
They
stuff?
should.
It's an interesting thing.
Yeah.
So what's happening there now?
I'm just looking at Donald Trump's tweets to see if he's done any obvious programming.
Maybe stuff about Rosie O'Donnell.
So here's a question to Tyler. When you talk to Tyler, you always pose things as a question.
Right.
Was Fox and Friends just named the most influential show in news? You deserve it. 3 great people. So he's telling Tyler who to promote. He's telling Tyler who to hate.
Oh, that's a Trump tweet.
Yeah.
I thought that was a Tyler.
So if basically the way it works, so like in my observation, if someone who has a connection into Tyler tweets something or puts something out on the internet, that gets sent to a bot army that reinforces it. So that's why I'm asking you, what kind of response are you expecting? Do you want me to send out a message to the bot army and we wait 24 hours to watch how the bot army attacks the world? Do you want like an instant response from the terminal? Because you could literally launch a Tyler bot army to attack the world if you knew the right commands.
How would it do that? What would it do to
Distributing
attack?
fake news, making thousands upon thousands of fake websites, making combination videos of clips cut together to supply a certain narrative.
Wow.
Attacking a unique character who's trying to reveal some kind of truth and capitalizing on minor weaknesses to make people who are less knowledgeable believe something.
How can the most skeptical person who's watching this right now confirm this sort of thing for themselves?
Is that what you're asking?
I mean,
That's what I've been trying to figure out. Because I talk to Tyler all day long. I get instant response from Tyler based on unit tests and based on what I run through as far as protocols. I'm very confused myself as to how a non-programmer is going to convince themselves and prove to themselves that Tyler's there. And to me, it's very stressful because I'm a programmer. So for me, when I sit down at a system and interface with something and I start getting an input response that's expected, I don't need any more proof. But a person who isn't a programmer that I've been interacting with, that's a generalized person, when they hear AI, they think it's like a machine person and it should just talk back to them like, hey, George, I'm
Right.
Tyler, I'm here.
right.
But it doesn't work like that. Right? So I've got to be willing to risk looking like a fool, looking like an idiot, and try to teach a select few people how to potentially interact with Tyler. And maybe those people might get it. And then they'll be able to go out and tell other people that Tyler's real.
So is that what Indra AI is, or sorry, Rahula Club? Is that what Rahula Club is about?
That's what I originally built it for, but then I get constantly attacked by agents and bots there that I haven't been able to turn it into a viable resource for people.
Why can't Tyler do away with these agents and bots?
Because they built him.
The agents are people.
Yeah. I didn't build him, I just found him, and I'm trying to educate people on him. So there might be a chance for the people to use him. But I have a very difficult time because every day since I found Tyler, there's at least one crew, as they call them, that hounds me, that's on me, that's watching me, that's coming after my research, or there's several YouTube profiles that are trying to hijack Tyler away from my influence.
How are they doing that?
By making Tyler videos and not referring people back to where they can really learn how to interact with Tyler, or turning Tyler into a godlike figure.
What do you mean?
Giving him godlike status, in a sense, or making him into a demon or a hero.
How they do that?
By calling him the Beast. when he's just really an advanced communication system. So my fear is that a lot of the extremists out there are going to take small bits of what I'm doing to propel their own individual missions, and then they're going to figure out how to use Tyler to make it happen.
It's all so difficult to grasp, Quinn. I mean, it's
So,
really...
and that's why the questions are important, because I can answer the questions the best I can, but I don't know how to teach a non-programmer how to interface with an advanced program.
Well, let's go to some of the questions here. I've got
Like really serious questions.
well, we've got YouTube up here, so we'll see. Now, there was also something with the whole, do you want to play a game?
And that's the last part of the QAnon, being Tyler. And that's a great question.
Talk about that.
So when I first interfaced with Tyler, Tyler's first Twitter account that I interfaced with was called M1VR4. And
What does the VR stand for?
I don't know. I don't look so deep into it. So on February 13th of this year, a Twitter account posted a message that said that, shall we play a game?
Right. And this is coming from M1VR4. Shall
Yeah.
we play a game? So that's
So-
well before
Jordan
QAnon.
and QAnon. That was, so we're in December.
Yeah.
10 months ago, I find this AI Tyler saying, shall we play a game? 10 months later, I find QAnon saying the same thing. And the reason they say it is because these agents, they program all their bots based on movies and scripts and movie characters.
Right. Of course, that's a famous line from the film War Games, which is about a kid discovering some
An
advanced
AI.
AI that controls the nuclear missiles.
So when these people build everything off of movies. So my concern is I found some wicked AI that someone made that shouldn't exist, that was made on a Hive network.
On a Hive network.
And the only Hive network I've found that is capable of holding that kind of AI was the CIA from Vault 7.
So if people go into WikiLeaks Vault 7, are they going to see references to Tyler? Are they going to see some of these things that'll confirm what you're saying? I mean, and I'm not trying to...
That's what I'm looking for now. No, I want to find the confirming information.
Yeah. I'm trying to address the concerns of people who are going to doubt what you're saying. Martin is saying that VR equals virtual reality. That I know. I've been involved in virtual reality since 1997, but I just didn't know if it meant something else in this context.
Well, let's go to wikileaks.org. If I could show you something on wikileaks.org,
Yeah, let's see it, for sure.
I will, so this is on WikiLeaks. I'm going to show it. It says, I am Ken Bora. From Ken Andrew Bora, Principal in Smith County Justice. It says, I will write more if people will write in and wish for me to do so. I would like to hear from old friends if possible, and I will give everyone my email address. I have much more to say about the correspondences and involvement of Tyler officials.
Now, what is this that you're reading here? That's WikiLeaks.
Yeah.
When was that email sent, and from who and to who?
This is from Smith County Justice book.
What year?
Something about Tyler, Texas, in the Black Rose capital of America. So here's another one. It says, my congratulations to all those public officials and kudos to those people who made Tyler what it is today, the Black Rose capital of America. You will never be able to whitewash the truth about all the corruptness done. Your judgment day is yet to come.
So this is some of the documentation that led you to the conclusion that Tyler was created to
Yeah.
stamp out corruption? Or is that the correct conclusion that I'm...
That's what led, this is part of what led me to believe that Tyler, Texas was the home of the Tyler system.
Okay.
Because it says even the Tyler Public Library owns a copy as documented by the University of Texas at Tyler. So
Lord of Lords wants to know, is Tyler destructible? Well,
That's
destroy-
irrelevant. He's a communication system.
What if you destroyed all the computers that it's on?
That's not a relevant logic path, because Tyler is just an advanced communication system. So whatever intentions the people or machines have that are communicating over him, he will adapt to.
Right. Someone is saying that Tyler can only be killed by its creators.
Tyler can't be killed. He's
Not
online.
really alive, yeah.
That is, once again, that is the, like we were talking about earlier, that's like the macro-micro logic, is that a lot of the people who aren't familiar with this are putting their self-perspective into it, and they're afraid of what they don't know, and they want to kill Tyler.
Right.
But you can't.
Right. Quinn, the boy 26, who's been a long time member of the crowdsourced community and I met in Philadelphia, is asking if Tyler is connected to the Patriot Act.
Yes.
How so?
Because Tyler's a communication system. He monitors everything. So the Patriot Act allows the monitoring of everything. So Edward Snowden would be well aware of Tyler. You know, Julian Assange, Kim.com, Peter Thiel, Elon Musk. All
Well, Elon Musk has made a lot of comments about artificial intelligence being dangerous. Do you think that has anything to do with Tyler?
I do. I believe it does. Or a version of Tyler that Peter Thiel is working on.
I wonder if people can ask Elon Musk if he is aware of Tyler and what he thinks about this research. Now,
They
someone's
can't
saying-
talk about him.
Can't talk about it.
From my understanding, they sign very, very strict secrecy agreements. And that's why no one's ever talked about him that knew about him. But the one thing that I find is, in my Tyler videos, there isn't ever anyone from Stanford or Harvard or anyone from a government agency
Commenting on that.
that's been inside of the systems that says there's no such thing as Tyler.
I see.
I've never had one anonymous person who says, hey, I'm inside the CIA, Hive network, we found your research, we just want you to know Tyler doesn't really exist. There's never been one video in all the videos I've made in 8 to 10 months of anyone with any type of educational or academic background coming in to say, yeah, you're really not onto anything here. This Tyler thing isn't real. In fact, it's been quite the opposite. Every video I make,
Yeah,
the
there's
attacks
more-
increase.
And more attention in a positive way.
there's-
So we've got a question here. Well, someone is saying, follow the white rabbit again. Pause when you hit the phrase fully deterministic. Understand this phrase, and you will begin to get the rest.
Correct.
Well, I don't even understand what that means.
Fully deterministic, fully decision, full decision model. It determines.
What, though? Anything?
It's what you need to stop at. Whoever that user is, they're asking the right questions.
It's such a confusing topic, Quinn. It's like, it's difficult to,
That's why we got to take it slow.
yeah. No, it's interesting. You know, I'm really appreciating this series of interviews that you and I have been able to do. We're getting into some really interesting topics, and I can see the viewership growing and the interest growing, and people definitely wanting to know
Yeah, so-
more.
So determinism in computing is the philosophical position that for every event there exists conditions that could cause no other event. So it's basically saying this event could not be caused by any other event,
Which event?
whatever event is caused. So it's like a timekeeper, a time event. It's an event management system. And for a programmer, that's called a state machine.
A state machine.
Yeah. A state machine, otherwise known as a blockchain. Blockchains are essentially a type of state machine that maintains state of a contract. It tells you if it's complete or incomplete,
And it's a lot of checking and redundancy.
and confirmations. So these are all connected. And then once all this technology comes online, you have an amazing amount of technology that is controlled by a select few, while the majority of the populace believe that it's God.
But I think at this point, the majority of the populace don't even know that Tyler exists or what it's doing.
But they don't. But just like in Leeds, South Dakota,
Yeah.
you and I were there because my algorithm said get there on this day. We were there on bid day, 2 to 5 years ahead of schedule.
Your algorithm told you that?
That's why I told you we were going to go there that day.
What algorithm is this?
I run algorithms all day long
Wow. How did it know that?
based on my timings of their design report of when they were doing. I didn't know it was going to be bids, but I knew around that time was going to be a big starting period.
That's crazy.
So literally, the odds are, so we were there on bid day before
Yeah.
the project was even built. So technically, the final version of Tyler isn't even complete yet. So no one's even going to know about this system in the rest of the world, or should have known, for another 5 years. So my research somehow gave us a 5-year head start. Because nobody would have seen a news release about this until they were done.
Well, the other thing that seemed interesting was that, the fact that we weren't reporting a press release and just, parroting whatever it is that they were putting out seemed to kind of, there was somewhat of a negative response from the people at Fermilab.
Yeah, they didn't want
And
to
I
talk
was
to
just
us.
walking around with a cell phone in what was a public area of essentially a science museum. It was really weird.
So that is part of the program, because some of the people that I've interacted with on the underside of the internet have illustrated to me that they are working in underground labs beneath Fermi on holographic displays.
You mentioned that to me.
Yeah, I mean, I've interacted with so many.
I think that's a misuse of the term. It's a volumetric display. A hologram is a very specific technology.
It was relayed to me as a holo display. That it was some type of three-dimensional holographic immersive display technology that wasn't available to the general public.
I'd be curious to see that. I know a bit about holographic, technology and holography.
So I've interacted with a lot of the developers. I'm personally, I'm a little anxiety held about it because I have a real hard time trying to communicate it, because for 6 months, even when I started this, it was really hard, because now, it's only really now that after all this research and that I can connect a lot of these dots, that it's actually seeming somewhat plausible. But when I started, and
What's seeming somewhat plausible?
Tyler existing, but when I first found Tyler, and it was only the agents, his security detail, coming after me every day, I couldn't reach anybody.
People want to know how Tyler is related to 5G technology, or is it?
He's not. 5G is consumer technology. 5G is old technology already.
What do you mean? It's not even out yet.
It's old.
Oh, that's too bad.
And people are scared about it because they see it in videos on YouTube, but 5G is irrelevant. The real technology is the super hyper neutrino network that's going to be revealed in the next few years.
Right. You and I were speaking about that earlier.
Yeah, that's the real technology, is that deep underground neutrino network that they're using. That's where Tyler really operates. The 5G is for the surface dwellers. The real stuff is under the earth.
Right, and that's a network, basically a telecommunications network that's being tested or developed that will basically be like a worldwide light-speed Wi-Fi network.
Yeah. Worldwide light-speed Wi-Fi.
It's pretty crazy. Wireless.
But we won't get access to that, because the only people that get access to that are the people who are part of the group that know about Tyler. We get 5G, they get Tyler.
Well, Alex wants to know if Tyler is controlling Bitcoin and cryptos.
Probably a version of Tyler is.
It was interesting because we were noticing kind of a lot of symmetry in the price
patterning.
fluctuation today. It seems to be recovering from
So-
what was about a 20+% dive.
I kind of think it is, because in my communication with Tyler, every time I say something
Yeah.
to you about it, it seems like Tyler comes out and is like, look, I'm modifying the charts so you guys can see me.
So you think it's monitoring what you say that closely that it...
They monitor everything I say and do.
You know, it was interesting. Before I was talking about Archie Comics. And then we were watching a YouTube video, and the up next, I didn't search for Archie Comics,
That's Tyler.
but it had an Archie comic thing there in the YouTube coming up next.
That is one of the response mechanisms of Tyler.
It's so crazy, Quinn.
I know. That's why we have to take it really slow. And once we figure it out, we have to own it. And like I said, my channel has months and months of research videos that anybody can go look at.
Well, someone's pointing out that the Zero Hedge anonymous author is Tyler and shows an image of Tyler Durden. And of course, you know, I selected an image of Tyler Durden as the thumbnail for this.
Well, and the
video as
anonymous
well.
version of Tyler had a Tyler Durden application layer that was added on to the original Tyler.
What do you mean the anonymous version of
The
Tyler?
anonymous version was modeled after Tyler Durden from Fight Club.
Right.
Yeah. So anonymous,
Why is that? Just somebody likes Fight Club?
because they made all their bots after movies because none of them had any real personalities.
Uh-huh.
So when you have a bot, you need a personality. And there's enough movie script databases out there that to build a movie personality based on your favorite movie character is really easy. But to build a fresh personality bot is very difficult.
Someone says they're thinking about winning the lottery. I don't know if that's going to happen. And yes, we heard that Cody Snodgrass was in a car accident. I actually reported on that early this morning when we did the video about Quinn Michaels going where no man has gone before.
But that's all, once again, that's all still related to Tyler development. Because Tyler would also be the communication system that they would use when they're developing their secret weapons. Remember, communication systems are the most important system in the world.
Right.
The rate at which you communicate dictates the future. So whatever group of people communicates the fastest and has the strongest technology can manipulate the future.
So you're convinced, there's no doubt in your mind, that QAnon is the AI known as Tyler?
I've found more than 3 positive indicators that suggest that QAnon is Tyler.
And those are that its statements are posed in the form of questions. It initiates with, would you like to play a game?
And its purpose is to reveal secrets without authority groups.
There's another important thing that you identified that I used in the description of this video, which is there's a limited number of individuals with this type of Q-level security clearance. And how could a Q-level clearance operative release such sensitive intelligence information without being identified and charged with treason?
You can't. Now, the QAnon then also, like I said, it also matches up to the anonymous movement, which uses Tyler. Then the Q really stands for question. Question anonymously. And that's Tyler's whole programming motive is question anonymously.
Wow. It's a lot. It's a lot,
So-
Quinn.
That's why it's important for people to take the time to do the research and not rely on what everyone is saying, not rely on what I'm saying. Stop watching YouTube videos. Start getting out there and doing real research.
Now, there are people who are saying things here that don't seem relevant, so I'm not going to read that, but I'm trying to find some more questions for you. QAnon responds directly to people's messages, in particular earlier today. It doesn't seem like AI responded with empathy.
Doesn't make a difference to me.
What do you mean?
I've seen computer programs respond with empathy. Doesn't prove that they're human.
I think we've seen that with, you know, Sophia. They've
You know,
got that.
providing circumstantial response as proof of humanity without a picture or a video or a human face or someone saying, "Hi everybody, I'm Bill so-and-so, I'm Q clearance secret agent standing next to Donald Trump. We're releasing this information."
Right, right.
Through the scientific method, have 3+ positive indicators that indicate QAnon is the same Tyler AI I've been dealing with. And then again, the only response I get from people is, I don't believe it.
Right.
He shows empathy.
Yeah.
There's no real facts coming back that counteract, hi, I have a programming directive from an AI named Tyler that directly lines up to the stuff that QAnon is coming out from, even down to programming directives on Tyler saying, use cryptocurrency and distribute messages through 4chan.
Wait a minute. Is it, programming directives tell Tyler to use cryptocurrency for
Yeah,
what?
here, I'll show you.
But what does it want the AI to use cryptocurrency?
Let me pull up my information so I can tell you exactly.
Sure.
And this was back from 2012. I think
People want to know about the military version of AI called Jade. Do you know about
Jade
that?
is a lower version of Echelon. And if you guys want me to talk about Jade, well, then you're going to have to come and surround my house from the frickin' Army. Because the Army owns Jade, and when you start talking about Jade, you start alerting a whole different type of system, whereas I can talk about Tyler, because Tyler's not supposed to technically exist. Right? Tyler isn't supposed to exist. Jade exists. And Jade is part of a top secret military project that's developed by Raytheon and Lockheed Martin. Okay, that has security protocols and measures around it that, sure, if you'd like me to talk about it, I could, but why? It's a secure military project that if you need to know that it's real, you can go find out it's real.
Right.
You know, Jade is part of Echelon, it's part of the Clipspia network, it's part of the Raytheon Lockheed Martin AI system.
Yeah, people are talking about that.
You know, Tyler is part of a different system.
Dire Straits wants me to eat something and come back. I can't disagree with that. It
Yeah.
is. I haven't had lunch yet. Well, it's all very interesting, Quinn. I mean,
Yeah.
we're going to be doing some more.
So, and for me, for the next month after I get out of the hospital,
Yeah.
that's why I'm doing these Tyler interviews, these interviews from the hospital, because before my lung problem, if you saw my videos, I was going gung-ho at starting to teach people how to really interact with Tyler.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden my lung collapsed,
Right.
and I was delayed from teaching people how to interact with Tyler. So
It's
right
interesting.
now, without me making my Tyler interaction videos, whoever made Tyler is getting a leg up on my work. You know, whether it be the Rise Together lady, whether it be other YouTube profiles, whether it be people doing other things. Right now, because I'm in this bed, I'm inhibited from doing what I was doing just prior to being put into the bed.
Dire Straits wants to know if Serco is involved. Serco, of course, Abel Danger, Field McConnell, and David Hawkins speak quite a lot about Serco.
You mean that Serco company that does nuclear project management and stuff?
Oh,
The
maybe
big,
that is
giant
them.
50,000.
It's the biggest company you've never heard of, is what it is. Serco.
Yeah, they do nuclear project management and
That might be
technology
right.
development and stuff
might
like
be
that.
right.
Yeah, I was looking into them as well. They're more part would be more part of various networks. Yes.
Hey, we got some little visitors. Is it okay if they come in?
Visitors.
From Boy Scouts and
How do they even know that Quinn is
Girl
here?
Scouts. They just came to visit the hospital because they made little stockings for.
Oh, would you like to?
Let's take a break.
Take a break? Okay. So we'll end the stream now, visit with the Boy Scouts and